Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the year in early childhood development on the Serenity Resource Connector. Whether you're joining us live or you're watching the replay, it is always a pleasure to have you here. And already I see Melissa and Rosalie in the comment section. Rosalie, and Melissa has been on before 8 p.m. Welcome, 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 Devon Thomas. Seeing you. Thank you for tuning in. And for the others that are connected, warm welcome to you. On this episode of the year in early childhood development, we are going to be zoning in on Learning Environment Month. And for the practitioners that are on, and the parents and the different members of the ECC team. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I know that this is going to be another lively and engaging interaction as we share. So, joining me in this space for this episode, welcome, Lady Doreen Brown. Great to have you. Night, night. We're going to be having our development, I call them specialists, in the space with us in the person of Tavina Brown. Tavina Brown is the mother of three boys who keep her grounded and who are the reason for everything she does. She is the early childhood development supervisor who is guided by the belief that God has a plan and a purpose for each individual and allows all things to work together for our good. And she is currently serving in Region 7, right there in Clarendon. Let me just bring them on screen with me as I do the intro. So there's Tavina. Tavina is no stranger to the Serenity Resource Connector space. Welcome back, Tavina.
Thank you, Winsome. It's a pleasure to be here tonight.
Awesome. And joining us is Natalia Williams, who is Early Childhood Development Officer, who believes that, let's get it right, she is very creative and extremely good with her hands. She paints, draws, knits, crochet, builds anything possible builds anything possible with any available trashables around her. Sorry, we can't see you in action this evening, Natalia. Very passionate about young children and creating meaningful experiences to help them develop holistically, and is a firm believer of the quote by Ignacio Estrada: if a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn. She is the mother of three awesome children, two boys and a girl. Welcome, Natalia. You're muted.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Pleasure, pleasure. Hi, Rosalie, grandmother. Ah, welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, David Jenkins says very resourceful. All right, and I'm sure that part of the learning environment it involves that teaching our practitioners and parents how to be resourceful, and our children also, right? But let's hear from the experts themselves. What exactly is learning environment? Tavina?
Okay, thank you, Winsome. So, Learning Environment Month is acknowledged in August every year by the Early Childhood Commission. So, what that period does is allow us as officers of the Early Childhood Commission to go out to our schools and to work with our practitioners to reshape, redefine, and organize their learning environment to meet our requirements. The Early Childhood Commission operates based on standards that are guided by the laws that govern the sector. And so we take Learning Environment Month very seriously because we want our children to be in a space where all of their needs are catered to. And so that's what we try to focus on in Learning Environment Month, ensuring that the space is there, that all the different toys and learning tools that the children need are in the environment, accessible to the children, clean, well positioned. And so we take the opportunity to just go out and help our ECPs to get that done. During that period also, we also take the opportunity to provide assistance in whatever way we can. So let's say, we have a school that the classroom needs a little painting. We try to assist in ensuring that we can cover that as well. So those are some of the things we focus on during Learning Environment Week. There are some other activities, and I think Natalia, who is the expert on taking trashables and making things, will talk about.
Right. But before we get to Natalia to take us through the activities, um, I saw in a number of the material Learning Environment Week, but now we're talking about Learning Environment Month.
Month. It started off as
Yes.
Learning Environment Week. And because we recognize how impactful it was and the difference it made in our ECIs, we decided that we would commit the entire month of August to be Learning Environment Month. It gives us more time to go out into the field so we can reach more schools and we can impact more children. So it is
Awesome.
Learning Environment Month.
That's what I'm talking about. Team ECC bringing it right, which is really great because if there's you're seeing impact, of course there can be greater impact if we extend right and reach more. Amazing. All right, so let's talk a little about the target group or the target group and how many ECI officers do we have or ECIs per officer? Because you say you go out into the community, and I know that it's widespread. So, how many ECIs do we have assigned to an
Right.
officer?
So normally we try to see if each officer that goes out in the field can target 2 to 3 schools per day and work with those schools for that particular day and cover as much as possible. Um, so it would be that times the number of officers. Currently, we have 40 inspectors and I think 54 development officers. And so all our staff and also our community relations officers go out in the field and work with the schools. And we have right now 7 community relations officers,
Okay, that's one per region.
one
Yeah.
per region right now.
Okay, okay, okay. And is there a difference in between the target group and your ECI? What's the target group? Is it just the institutions?
Right, so we try to focus on the schools that we recognize need the most assistance. So currently we're looking at schools that are scoring, say, below 50% on their last inspection, and other schools that, having visited them, we recognize that, they could use some assistance to rearrange their classroom environment. So those are our target groups.
Ah, okay. Awesome. So we want to bring everyone up to top tier standard, right?
Yes,
All
we
right.
do.
All right. Natalia, are you ready to show and tell?
Yes, I am.
All right. Take it away. Let's see what demonstrates some of the things that it would have been from the previous month, learning environment month, right?
Previous years.
Years.
So
Okay,
since we started off, as Tavina said, we started off just a week, and
mhm.
then we grew into a month, and different things would have been added as we go along.
All
And so
right.
we have, as she said, all field staff. It's a buy-in. All field staff, hands on deck. I'm from Region One, and so we are close to head office. So you find that the head office team also becomes a part of learning environment. So here in this picture, you see our sector planner, Paula Shaw,
Okay.
and our human resource manager, Mrs. Thompson Blair. Um, they came to one of my schools for learning environment. And so the space was cleaned, the walls were blank, and the teachers were ready to work. And they came ready to work as well. It was a fun experience for not just the practitioners, but for the head office staff to see what the field looks like.
Okay.
Um, they did enjoy themselves. I didn't even know they were coming. And so, everyone gets an opportunity to share in the experience. And so they made a focus wall, and this is actually a brain builder class that they worked on. So
Wow.
you see the things are at the children's level. We have some
Yes.
spots on the floor that were painted by us. And so the children use the spots interchangeably, and so they're learning the colors, they're sitting on the floor, they're interacting with their walls, and so it creates a hands-on experience and a lot of fun things going on, but a lot of learning as well. And
Right.
so they were a natural part of it, and they love it, and I'm sure they'll be joining this year, and plus other persons.
Awesome.
um we have also our sponsors who join us on learning environment. um in the top picture, this is what the room looked like before we remove the things, um, gave the floor a new look in the cheapest possible way that both the school as well as the ECC. So they did provide the school with paint, as Tavina said, things that we needed, stuff that the school had. Parents were there as well. And so you find that it's everybody a buy, which makes it
Yes.
work. This is how it looks now. So you see the things are done at the children's level. We have a
Right.
we have nice little colored carpets that also promotes learning for the children. They have furnitures that were donated to them through the ECC, Brain Builder Furnitures, and so the children are sitting at the on the floor. In the picture too, we see the little boy and the person in the yellow shirt. That is me on the floor,
Ah,
with a student testing out something that we would have implemented. So instead of just putting up a bare chart that
yes.
you just walk and look at every day, it gives the child something to do. And so um, they're numerals, and so there's a string attached to it, a colored string,
Oh,
and counters attached. So the one has one button cover, and there's
okay.
a spot there so the child can pull the cover up and match it one to one correspondence. So we're counting as we go along, and we're making it work, and it's fun. So they can string it. They're allowed to string it because there's a container there that they store the covers in. So
Right.
initially when we started off, the spots were just white, and then we also have zone lead teachers across the region. And so my zone lead teacher suggested that we put some color to it, and then we could use different color body covers. So when we started off, it started off as just that, and then it built on into something beautiful.
Awesome.
I'm not sure I'll be able to play this one. Let me see if I can find it real quick. We
Amazing.
also have make and take sessions in-house in our regions at our resource centers. And so we focus on teachable items that make learning fun. We have different things. Each officer plan for their zone, ideas that we'd want to share. And so our zone lead teachers also play a part in that. They help with the planning, and so they'll come up with ideas. So in a classroom, the most standard thing you see on the wall would be a number freeze. Depending on the age group, it might teach different things or promote different things. And so this 1 to 5 is actually for a 2-year-old class. Instead of just putting the bland 1 to 5 on the wall, it gives the child something to do, as I said. And
Right.
so we put the string. If you can zoom in and see, let me see if I can play it, and you'll see. Um, The colors are there, and the bottom covers match the color spots on the numerals. We went a bit further. I don't have it in this video, but we went a bit further, and for the 5-year-olds and the 4-year-olds, we added the number name, and so on. And then, each time we kept on adding something. So we do a lot of things. As for the able to play, I uploaded it. Should be coming in right now. My zone lead teacher works
Okay.
well, and so we decided how we could make. Okay, so I'm having a bit of trouble to share. Instead of just having the alphabet on the wall and for the children to be just, you want to let them be touching, saying,
Right.
interacting, pulling, opening a pocket, finding something useful and see what is inside. Say, hey, when I open this pocket, what will I find? An alligator, an apple, what will I find? And so we keep on making the classroom environment as interactive as possible, to keep the children not only engage but keep them curious each time. So when I was a classroom teacher, um, August was the time that I used to plan and prepare. How will I set my room? What will my board be? What will my door look like? How will my children interact in this space? So it is a way of sharing with practitioners. How can you make learning fun for your children by achieving the ultimate goal, right? Having them learning in their space. And because we promote learning through play, our learning centers are not just shrines. It gives the children something to do. And so when I go over to the art center, what will I interact with? How does it draw me to that? So you have your crayons, you post your crayons, and you give them a writing tablet made of just paper, and they can take up a red crayon and let us guess and check if it. Let's sure it is red, and they can color on the paper. And yes, it is red. What will happen if I put red and purple together? And I just pull the crayon because the crayons are down in the colors with the names and their label. And so they're mixing colors. And there's a lot of things going on, right? We have our sensory cans that we also make with our teachers. Just some water, glitter, and anything that will move up and down, and the children are able to go and they shake it. And if they shake it, it moves faster, right? Some will float to the top, some will float to the bottom. There's a lot of learning going on. So, helping teachers in the learning environment is an awesome experience, not just for us as officers, but for them too. And so they get an idea to share with their colleagues something that they would want. I know teachers look forward to it. As we said, we started off small at the ECC with just 1 week. We have progressed into a year. And for officers who have a certain number of schools, we try to reach, as Tavina said, at least 3 or 4 schools per week. And then with the added help from head office and the CROs, um, it has been growing and it will grow. This year, we're looking to plant trees at
All
schools that don't have
right.
shade. And so each time we keep on adding new things to make it more fun while allowing the schools to improve in their standard too, which is development of the learning space, how the teachers interact with the children, how are the conversations, teaching and learning. And so that is what learning environment is.
Amazing. Wow. I could feel myself in the environment, the colors and the accessibility to the my little people, right? So it's not out of their reach, so they feel a part of,
A
and they're able
part of the
to
process.
embrace the environment. Amazing. All right. Great evening to you all. I see a lot of good evenings coming up and greeting taking place in the chat. A number of persons are saying hello to Natalia and echoing all hands on deck.
All hands on deck.
Right. Yes, Sophia, really cost effective approach, right? Utilizing whatever is there in the environment. All right. David Jenkins, is this level of dedication experienced island wide to include the rural sections of Jamaica?
Yes, it is. As Natalia would, well, Learning Environment Month is acknowledged across all 14 parishes. We have 7 regions. The parishes are divided into 7 regions. We have officers assigned in all regions, officers assigned in every nook and cranny. We go to Bunkers Hill, we go to Westmoreland, we go to Montego Bay, we go to Kempsale, wherever the schools are, that's
We
where
go
we go.
there.
All right. So it is across the island. So Jenkins, if you know of an early childhood institution that's not experiencing learning environment, you need to let us know. Okay. Great evening, Sir Thompson. Thanks for joining. All right. So keep the questions coming. That's right, Sophia. Teamwork makes the dream work. All right. So you would have mentioned some of the benefits already, but just identify some additional benefits to the students, the teachers, and the practitioners.
Right. So I'm going to start by saying that everything that we do at the Early Childhood Commission is done as part of the puzzle. So bringing everything together so that the big picture can be seen.
Right.
Learning Environment Month is part of that. One, we are at the Early Childhood Commission are guided by what we our national strategic plan. And one of the priorities in our national strategic plan is to ensure that our children have access to safe, well maintained ECIs. And so we want to ensure that every aspect of the child's learning environment meets our standards. So we look at the safety, we look at the dif- for us, we require, well, the standards, which is for us focused heavily on standard 2, which is educational slash developmental programs. So when we go out to do an inspection in standard 2, we're looking at the learning equipment, the materials, the toys, the books. We're looking to see if all the 5 learning centers are accessible to the children, and the 5 learning centers that each ECI should have, that the children should be able to access so that their developmental needs can be met, are art and sensory, language and reading, manipulative and cognitive, science and nature, and Natalia, what reading? No, I said language and reading, art and sensory,
Dramatic play.
dramatic play, and dramatic
Okay.
play. So those 5 learning centers should be in all ECIs because we recognize that these learning centers, when made available to children,
You're muted.
sorry about that, to meet
Okay.
their developmental milestones. And so that is why we focus on learning, the learning environment, because we also recognize that when children are in an environment that stimulates their development, that development is accelerated. And so for us, those are the benefits, not just because we want them to meet our standards and to be able to score 100% on their inspection, but also because we recognize that this kind of environment caters to the needs of the children. And that is the focus for us, ensuring that all children in Jamaica have the ability and are in an environment for them to develop to their fullest potential.
Amazing. And Doreen Brown is echoing the sentiment that the wonderful initiative that's fostering teaching and learning in the early years. That's right. All right. So all right. We have a lot going on in the chat here. Let's bring in some Brandy. Agrees with Tavina. All a part of the big picture. It's a piece of the puzzle that is very important. Children benefit and the standards are being met. So it's a win-win all around, right? Constructivism, learning through exploration. Oh yes. And in the early years, that's it. And it sticks. because when you do the exploration and they figure things out and it makes them feel good, it's a great way to build their self-esteem. You have some confident young people that you're grooming, right? Because they know their numbers, they know their colors. I have a little one, she's just 3 years old, my niece, and she was asking if she needs to know her numbers because she started going to summer school, getting ready for September. Auntie, I need to know my numbers. Yes, baby, you need to know your numbers. Yes, and the colors makes it learning so much fun. All right. If there are questions, feel free to ask your questions. Practitioners, if you're there and you want to um, say when you're starting your registration period, feel free to drop it there and I will give you some complimentary promo. All right. All right. So we spoke about the this standard earlier because we know the hashtag 12 standards matter. We won't be able to go through all of them, but is there anything specifically in terms of how the Learning Environment Month is geared towards accomplishing any one or two of these 12 standards that you want to identify? Any specific one you want to
Right.
highlight?
So the focus would be on standard two, which is educational and developmental programs, and that's because the toys, the manipulatives, and the centers cater to the developmental needs of the children. But also we have standard four first, which looks at the physical environment, and our children need to be in an environment that is safe and well maintained. And we also have standard five, which is indoor and outdoor equipments, furnishings, and supplies. And so for learning environment, for standard five, we're focusing on the indoor environment. And so we're
Okay.
also looking at the items in those standards to ensure that when we help the ECPs to set up their learning environment, we're also meeting the requirements of those standards.
That's right. So it's really all hands on deck across the board because it's not just mandating that these institutions get certain things in place, but you're actually holding their hands to ensure that these things are in place.
We're
So
supporting them.
supportive environment. All right, which is great. It's amazing. Collaborative approach. I just love that. I believe if we do that in more of the sectors, we'll get a lot more done faster. Just as how you all made this ISO 9000 standard achieving that seems so easy because there are many companies over the years that are seeking to get there that are still not there. But you all made it look so easy.
All
Together
hands on deck.
and together each achieves more. And at the ECC, I think everything that we do it together. We're
Very
all
important.
involved in the process. We
All
own
hands
the
on deck.
process. We go out there, we get it done. We become painters, we become decorators, we
Uh,
become everything.
Gardeners, because this year we'll be planting trees.
The-
all right. Oh, Lord, you're developing some really rounded people. All right. I absolutely appreciate Learning Environment Month. It allows teachers to be intentional in preparing for all
All
types of
types.
learners. Very important.
Very
Very important. Thank you so much for that, Halima Jackson. Thank you so much for that. And we had Herman Gray from, is this Amha Selassie Basic School? All right. Welcome. Did I get it right? Amha?
Yes. I'm
All
a
right.
Selassie.
All right. Thank you so much for joining. And if you want to share when you start doing your enrollment for our little people, feel free to share. All right. So, how has Learning Environment Month impacted the ECIs? What are some of the impacts that you can share across the regions or across Jamaica?
All
Give
right.
me
So
some highlights
for
from some of the rural areas, since a question came earlier about if you're really reaching rural Jamaica.
All right. So generally, what we can say is that because the schools are chosen based on, as Tavina said, we try to help schools that are below standard, and we're going to improve. So we're hoping that they'll have improved inspection scores in terms of their standard too, and the interactions with the children and so on. Because we have added a new component in terms of um, planting of the trees, having a outdoor play area, you must have shade for the children. So if you don't have a tree and you have a play space, that is considered an NI. And so assisting with the planting of the trees is taking away one or two NI areas. Um, Also, as a part of learning environment, we walk the grounds, we observe what is there, what is missing, any hazards that need to be removed, and so on. We are there on the ground, inspector development officer, providing that support to help that school move from one inspection score to an improved inspection score. So the impact is improved scores. We have schools that we would have worked with for learning environment that have been certified as a part of learning environment, because in some regions, um, though we might have our individual schools that we work with, sometimes we select a one school as all hands on deck um, assistance, and so we all go in,
Right.
we declutter, we reorganize, we make last year I must say it was a different kind of learning environment because we were preparing schools to be open in COVID. And
Yeah.
so we partnered with public health. Um, what was public health looking for? And social distancing space, providing for the children, ensuring that there is no um, gathering, and then the learning centers look different this year because they couldn't be out and all children go in and interact. So we had to put them in containers, but we still didn't want to take away the fact that the children were supposed to be interacting with the materials. So it was a new process for us to learn, but we gravitated quickly and we sold it as beautiful as we always do. We owned the process. And so you found more schools past public health and were able to open for face to face, which was an awesome experience.
Awesome.
So we at the ECC, we don't go empty handed. Even though we're going for all hands on deck, we don't go empty handed. You don't want to see my car when it's learning environment. You don't want to see my clothes when it's learning environment. And so we
Wow.
walk with posters. We issued posters, social distancing posters, hand washing posters that were needed in different places, so that when public health comes in, the school would have these things in place. We focused on preparing the space to include the social distance. So you saw the picture that I showed with Mrs. Thompson Blair and so on. There were
Right.
things, there were markers on the floor so that we know where the children were supposed to be and who holds what space. And so it was also a teaching experience for us to be helping the teachers to understand how we'll get the children to move from one center to one. So we implemented new things, like we had markers to say three bears or three children are here. So we know that in this space, only three persons.
All
We help
right.
we help them with making the social distance signs children friendly, so that they don't just see it and it's like, oh, they know that they walk one side on the corridor. So you walk on this side going up and you walk on this side coming down. And
Oh,
then every school is different. No school is the same.
wow.
Some schools have huge spaces, and
Right.
fixing that for public health was easy. Some schools have three walls. And so, the expertise, we're all putting our heads together to see how we can make it work. And we did that. We reorganized the space. Some schools don't have sick days, and now
Mhm.
they need isolation area. So
Right.
they needed us and we needed to help them, which I'm sure we all as development officers and CROs and inspectors, all team ECC, we enjoyed the process because we owned it. It was ours and we owned it and we did it. We had a lot of schools passing public health, and that was standard 6. We had a lot of schools
Fantastic.
reopening for face to face, which was awesome for us because COVID has been um, good and bad in terms of
That's right.
how it affected us. And
Right.
Team ECC went back to the drawing board, as we said. So we designed posters, we designed markers, we gave them, we partnered with the Ministry of Health. We got some big posters that were needed. Um, we issued sanitizing items as well last year to help schools that did not have um, to be able to, because for public health they look for certain things.
Right.
We issued items that were appropriate and that would have helped them, and we know schools benefited greatly from that. And so you see, each year we had a new component. So COVID helped us not to only focus on standard two, but also other areas. So we try to hit all the standards as much as we can, but our focus is standard two.
All right. Amazing. So I would imagine that the whole objective when learning environment week started, it has morphed into something much bigger. What was
It's
what?
like a plant. We planted a seed when we started, and each year it grows, different branches, different leaves, and so we are branching off into different things, and so we are hoping for it to get bigger. And we want sponsors to buy in, we want persons to buy in, so that this year we're providing trees. Next year we probably can
Yes,
provide something else
that's
if
right.
we get the assistance that we need. So it's growing. It's a
Not
growing.
if, when we get the
When
assistance
we get
that's
when
needed.
yes,
All right. Right. All right. Let's pause to welcome Yvonne Ebert from Galilee Basic. Welcome, Lady Ebert. All right. Brandy, such passion when Natalia speaks, just awesome. Team ECC just loves what they do,
we do.
right? Total buy-in, and that's what happens. Hint, hint. All right, Sir Jackson. All right, that's what happens when you have that kind of energy and synergy that's going on with the team when you feel a part of, and the buy-in is so important, right? But why exactly did the ECC implement Learning Environment Week? What was happening then? Why exactly was it implemented?
So, as I would have said before, um, part of our mandate is to ensure that all children have access to safe, well maintained learning environment. And so we recognize that sometimes, our ECPs, our principals, they may have a plan in mind, they may want to reorganize their space and do what is necessary to meet the standards. They want to do it, but sometimes they need additional assistance.
Right,
And so we recognize that it was an opportunity for us to use this time, which is normally a, a, a little slower for us as officer, to help the ECPs to make their dreams come to reality and to be able to meet our requirements. So we really did this because we wanted our children to have the kind of environment that they needed, and we want to help our practitioners to meet the standards.
right. All right. All right. So we're not just telling, but we're showing and we're helping to make it happen. Fantastic. All right. I want to thank you all again for tuning in, whether you're live or you're watching the replay. We are talking about Learning Environment Month, and that's going to be the month of August as we continue in the year of early childhood development, right? And with all of that in mind, we're going through this year of early childhood development and we are having Learning Environment Month. What is it that the ECC team envision the kind of impact that you envision from all of this, not just for the individual ECIs, but the sector in general. Natalia?
Improvements. Um, because we're not just focusing on the schools. It's the schools, the parents, the children, and the sponsors. We envision growth in the sector, growth in the terms of our schools performing at standards, our schools being put in the position to achieve more, not just to look better, and also to promote learning for our children. So teaching and learning will be different for children. No child should be left behind, and no child will be left behind. And so when we partner and we create learning environment and we add additional things to it, we're catering to the safety of the children, and we're also catering to how children learn. So we have the tactile ones, we have the kinesthetic learners, and so this experience not only helps us to go in and improve and help to assist in improving, but it's a learning process for us as well. And so we can say to our teachers, we can say to our directors, this is what is out there. So we're collecting data while we're doing this. And so when we go back to our planning stage, we see things that we need to implement. So I see total growth. Early childhood, there are a lot of things happening.
Yes.
We are not dormant. We are improving. We are a train that keeps on going. And when the oil runs out, or the gas runs out, we refuel and we come back again. So we see total growth for our children. We want children performing at their developmental stage. We want ECIs providing quality early childhood for our children. And we are there supporting them in the process and playing our role as developers, as supporters, right? And our sector, we hope to get additional support, um,
Yeah.
whether it be monetary, whether it be, we want that buy-in. And so the year of early childhood and the early childhood commission and learning environment will continue to grow, and things will happen for us. So total growth for all stakeholders for the sector.
Love it.
Also, I'd like to also add that not just for us, but for Jamaica as a country, because what we do at the Early Childhood Commission, what we do for our children, with our children, is part of the vision to make Jamaica the place to live, work, and raise families. And so, our focusing on the learning environment in this period is part of that mission to ensure that we're investing today for tomorrow, and we're investing in the environment because we recognize that the type of environment that you're in as a child affects your growth and development. And
Definitely.
we see it as a very critical area, and that is why we're focusing on it.
That's right. Because if we want it to get better, we gotta pay attention to it, right? Whatever we focus on gets bigger, right? All right. Allison sharing that Learning Environment Week was based on analysis of inspection reports and the common weaknesses identified. Right. All right. So we don't just see something happen and tell the ECI go fix it. No, we come together to make it happen. All right. The foundation needs the support. Okay. Melissa, a positive, passionate energy from Miss Natalia, who would be driven to work harder. All right. I trust that the passion is being felt and resonating with the practitioners across the sector, so that all the ECIs will be bubbling with excitement and our children will be excited to come into the space to learn and grow. All right. All right. We're taking the credits. Great job, Miss Williams. Continue to do the good work you were made to do with your creative hands. All right. Very interesting discussion. Thank you so much for joining us, Nikisha. Douglas Booth. Happy you enjoyed the discussion. Always remember to share the information so others can be mindful of what is happening in the early childhood uh, commission and how they can be a part of the process. In the communities, there are so many different groups in the communities that can help to support what you're doing, right? So we can all get together to make it happen. When you're going into the communities, be sure to send out something so we know what's happening. So those who are able to come from the different community groups can come on board to then support and be a part of getting those paints on and all of those good things.
Yeah.
The community coming together to support the early childhood development, which is crucial. All right. Okay. That's the discussion for this episode. We will just take the final thoughts. What can we expect leading up to and going throughout August in this Learning Environment Month? On your social platform, what will be happening? Anything new and exciting? Tavina, anything in terms of any special activity going on for August outside of going into the schools?
Well, we normally have Twitter chats, so you can expect that Twitter will be blowing off,
Okay.
just to keep our practitioners and Jamaica at large informed as to what Learning Environment Month is about, and what we'll be doing. We post on all of our social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter, all the activities. We try to post as much as we can our activities so that persons can be kept up to date. You can see what we're doing out in the field and you can feel like you're a part of it. And we also have our daily messages that are sent out to keep our practitioners motivated and informed, as well as to keep our parents motivated and informed. And so we will continue with those during the month of August.
Amazing. All right, great stuff. Natalia, any final thoughts to share with your practitioners, parents, as it relates to the creativity side, how they keep the momentum going?
Okay, so we'll be having in our resource centers, we'll be having make and take sessions. So practitioners will be invited in. Um, we will have resources, so they can come with what they have, but we will have resources for them to, but they leave with something.
Oh,
And they will be leaving with something that they can use. And so that will be done across all 7 regions in all resource centers. And it will be done by zones. So each officer will have their impact. Um, and so we're not leaving our practitioners out because we won't be able to go to all our schools. I, for one, supervise 57 schools. So I won't
wow.
be able to be at all 57. And so we call on our zone lead teachers to assist. And so when we have our make and take sessions, we reach more persons. So we'll be having them in the centers, and for those persons who their zones are a bit far from the central point, they'll be going out into the field to have those make and take sessions. And so we're trying to reach everybody as we can. So we might not be in the physical school for all persons, but we're on the ground. Um, and that will happen over the entire month of August. Um, we are hoping to have a parent component as well, because we work closely with our CROs. So we're hoping to have a parent component where we can actually have parents come in and assist their school, their class teacher, to have that kind of rapport. And so they'll make something for teacher, and teacher can put it up, and mommy will come and say, I did that. And I'm
Oh,
proud of that. So
that sounds really engaging. That's
I'd like
really sure. Go ahead, Tavina.
I mentioned that we have our Twitter chats, so everyone can join us tomorrow, July 22nd at noon for our next Twitter chat, and we'll be focusing on learning environment. Our topic will be focused on investing in the learning environment at the early childhood level. So that's tomorrow. We'll be blowing up Twitter, giving insights, talking about the benefits of learning environment. and just making our presence be felt on Twitter.
All right. So all you can tweet on over to Twitter tomorrow at noon. So you can learn more about learning environment and how you can be a part of this exciting time for early childhood development that's going on. You don't want to miss out on that. And I'll be sure to pop into one of the ECIs nearest to me so I can be a part of what's going on there and help the little our little people get some of those things done. They can teach me a thing or two on the creative side. All right. Thank you so much, ladies. It was a pleasure sharing virtual space with you here on the Serenity Resource Connector. Right, Brandy saying thanks for sharing, ladies. Keep on being great as we make the environment more ideal for the young children we serve. Indeed. All right, so sharing with us on this episode, Natalia Williams, Development Officer, and Tavina Brown, Development Supervisor, part of the Team ECC family. All right. Thank you all so much for sharing space with us here on this episode. And just in case you missed the other episodes, you want to go back and check them out. All right. So this third Thursdays in each month, we do this for the year of early childhood development. We'll be zoning in on another aspect of what's happening at the early childhood development level. Yes, indeed. Lady Ingrid, great presentation. Well done indeed, ladies. Yes. All right. But the Serenity Resource Connector goes live here on YouTube every Thursday, 8 p.m. Next Thursday, the fourth Thursday, we'll be having another discussion with the Clarendon Municipal Corporation. And we're going to be looking at that entity that deals with parks, markets, vending, and all of those good stuff. So you want to join us to hear and ask your questions as to what is happening in the space and what will be done to take care of some of these challenges that we're experiencing. So be sure to tune in and you can send any questions you might have. Let me drop the email address here, serenityadvisor@gmail.com. Feel free to send your questions for any of the episodes. You can send ahead of the episodes that you'd like to be answered because I know some people might not like to type in the comment section while we're live, but you can feel free to send your questions to that email address and I'll be sure to ask them for you. Indeed. All right. All right, ladies, you're getting some more flowers. Take them.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for having us, Winsome. It was really a good chat.
uh,
Enjoyed this.
Always a pleasure. Now you all can
It
get some
was.
rest and get ready for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thanks again. Do continue to stay safe, and I will see you next time. All right. God bless.
Bye. Thank you.